So I am Laia Viñas, project officer at MedCities. I think it's now 4 minutes past the time, and we will start. I will just recall some very basic, rules in this Zoom world we live in. We will ask the speakers and our colleagues from the urban transports who will be presenting to switch on their camera when they speak. And we will gently ask you to mute yourselves just to avoid any background noise. We will be collecting your suggestions, comments, and questions through the chat to start. We will have different moments for exchange where we will go to the chat and see the comments and questions you have posted, and hopefully we have enough time left so that at the end we can open the floor for any any of you wanting to take the floor. Let's hope we have the time, because we have a sort of a tight schedule. Let me without more delay present to you the agenda of the meeting. This is our associates and partners and stakeholders meeting. It's an important moment for the urban transports to present to you, our community and main stakeholders, what we have been doing so far, and not only that, but also what we aim at doing in the coming important months of the project. I will provide a very short presentation of the project and the community. Then our colleagues from different partners of the urban transports, we will together present some of the main products and deliverables that are already out there, 3 out of 4, and to provide you a hint and willing to if you're willing to consult them, or if you're willing to go deeper in what we have been doing, this is the moment. We will have a point about, as I was saying, the plans for the next months, and here it will be important to identify any synergy, opportunity for collaboration that you see with your plans and your projects. We would be more than happy to listen to you, and even at a later stage to liaise bilaterally with the partnership to define these opportunities. Then before we close, we will have the pleasure to give the floor to Mrs. Tarja Richards, who is the director of the managing authority of the INTERREG Med program, who will provide an overview of how the next program, how the next Euromed program looks like. And we're sure this is going to be of interest for the whole community and the whole audience in the room. So I will start with introducing a bit what the urban transports is and who we are as a community of the INTERREG Med. The project, so first the partnership. It's a rich mixture of partners dealing with of networks of cities and regions like MedCities, Civitas, but also with specialization on advocacy and lobbying at EU level, like with police, of the research and university world with UNIMED, with a technical and research background with Area Science Park, or with a foot, let's say, on Europe and the South, like Codato and ourselves. And also we have our representative of a municipality of the Mediterranean, who's our colleagues from Durrës municipality. That's the partnership behind the urban transports. We were renewed as a project in November 2019 with a renewed partnership as well, partially. And the project is up formally until June 2022 in this second phase of the project. we are a community that initially was constituted by 7 territorial modular projects. As a difference to other thematic communities of the program, our community has only one live modular project. Only one of our modular is still ongoing, Enernet Mob, who are here today, and I am happy to say hi. The other projects, far from being dead, what we have tried to do is to capitalize all the expertise and experience that they gathered during the previous phase. And we have now sort of a database and potential community of more than 1,000 experts, professionals, decision makers of the field of sustainable mobility across the Mediterranean. These are people that follow us, that receive our news, that have participated in previous activities, and that we hope we will continue engaging in the future months. So a glance on our core community, or the modular projects that I was talking about. They address different dimensions of what sustainable mobility in the Mediterranean means, and I will go into that in a second. And basically, they represent quite a great diversity of organizations and institutions that we are happy and that we have the pleasure to now sort of try to raise and capitalize their experience. And some of the partners of these projects are joining us today in this meeting. So we would be more than happy if you can signal it on the chat, and maybe a reunion moment from these modular projects can happen through the chat. So I wanted to focus my introductory point though on what we are trying to do in this phase. Basically, as I was saying, there was a lot being done during the last 3-4 years at the level of the modulars. And the idea for the urban transports renewed project was to take stock of everything, not everything, but I mean the most relevant and experiences with potential of scaling up, so of replication, to get stock of these experiences and to prepare the ground for an effective transferring to other territories. That's the first level of our project, which we call the mentoring, the blue level. And basically the focus here is to, as I just said, prepare the ground for an effective transferring of some of the experiences. Of course, we at this level we prefer to go more targeted and tailor it on the territories that participate. We are going to develop a bit how we are doing this in a second. We have a second level of the knowledge exchange, where we open a bit the scope. We aim at involving more institutions, more typology of actors, and here we have organized already a series of thematic seminars, which I think you all might have received some news about last autumn, but we will continue organizing thematic and geographic seminars, regional and at European level as well, to so not only transfer concrete good practices to tailor territories, but also to transfer the knowledge and expertise at a broader scope. And also the awareness raising that we aim at doing at citizens and decision makers level. The third level concerns the policy leverage, so influencing and sort of orienting the public policy making. The idea is that we transfer all the knowledge, but also the evidences that we take from our mentoring program to as field-based, as evidence-based expertise to help shape the sustainable mobility policies of the future. And for that, we will be very active participating, and we have been quite active participating at European public events. Last year, we were at the European Week of Regions and Cities and 3 other events. And this year, we aim at being also active with a number of concrete products that part of them we will present them to you today. From the whole expertise that we inherited, let's say, from the previous phase and the modular projects, the first exercise we did with the Urban Transports Partnership was to, as I was saying, get stock of what had been done and define or identify the thematic axis that we the thematic axis that we wanted to focus our action, and that has helped us a lot to organize and structure the work that we are doing and that we want to do. So when we talk about sustainable mobility in the Mediterranean, our pledge, our idea, our vision is that we are talking about new and more participatory planning approaches to mobility, innovation in mobility solutions for tourist destinations, promotion of soft mobility as a solution for more sustainable mobility systems, the promotion of electromobility in a broad way. I mean, from a point of view of the networks that can be created across the region, the promotion of shared mobility, and the fostering of the use of data and information technologies and smart traffic management tools for mobility. That's our focus. And if you have anything going on around this focus, you can let us know, and we will be very happy to try to collaborate together. Very briefly, what we have achieved so far, and my colleagues will go more in detail on different deliverables, but basically for our mentoring, we launched a call last autumn that gathered 22 candidatures. That's public and private entities that had an interest to replicate some of the good practices that we selected. Out of the 22, 8 were selected as replicators, and we have designed one common methodology for the 8 mentorings. Each of these 8 replicators has one expert territory that we call pioneer accompanying them. But we will go into more details. My colleagues from Codato will go into more details in a second. Regarding knowledge exchange, as I was saying, we took good stock of 15 transferable good practices from the previous phase, and I am going to present the online portal where you can find these good practices very soon. We launched the thematic series of webinars over 2 months last autumn with almost 300 participants, and we have 2 thematic guidelines, one of which our colleagues of Area Science Park will present us today. Regarding policy leverage, as I said, we were very active in 2020, and we have drafted a sort of a key policy targets map of the project. And we have just published, and when I say just, it means few hours ago, or even 1 hour ago, our first policy brief on soft mobility that our colleagues from CVNet will present. An overview of how the 3 levels of intervention with the 6 thematic axes intertwined. Basically, the products of the 3 type of activities, the mentoring, the knowledge exchange, and the policy leverage, will help us build a different types of deliverables and expertise in the 6 thematic axes. As you see, we are trying to find some balance, but for some of them, for instance, in the mentoring, soft mobility and the use of new technologies was very successful, and that's why where you see adaptation reports, this is the deliverable of the mentorings. This is going to be strong, while soft mobility was also of high interest for the first policy brief to be published about this topic, and we will tackle tourism related mobility solutions in our second policy brief to come in the coming months. So that's a bit the overview where we stand and where we want to go. I think that's it for an overview of the project. Of course, if you have any question, any comment, please post them on the chat. We will gather them and try to address them later on after the presentations. We would be very happy to hear from you on your views about the planning of the project, and if you see any opportunity for filling the gaps you see in this schema, we are more than happy to take it on board. Just a brief look into, of course, the indicators. Basically, we are halfway. We have achieved our goal of mobilizing. We mobilized 8, but we may be able at the end to reach the target of 10 territories around the mentoring. We have more than achieved the target of raising awareness during the transferring phase of the project. And we are now, and this is, we are looking into to the future. We want to continue raising awareness. We want to continue engaging cities, but now with a larger target of 30 supporting cities. And our catalog that I'm going to present now is the first of the 2 models that we are aimed to produce and to offer to the community by the end of the project. I think that's it. Yes. Now we are going to present you some of the key achievements, and more than achievements, they are products that are available, that are online, and that we shared some of the links in the agenda. You can go and see, but there's one new, as I was saying, of the policy brief that we will post, but we will post all the links on the chat while we present it. And we will start, let's say, somehow chronologically on in the way we have been producing the different these different products, and somehow they allow the second one to be possible in a way. It's all a sort of domino effect. I am going to start with the urban transports online catalog, and after that I will leave the floor to my colleague Eloise Chemier from Kodatu, and I will then stop talking, but just give me 3 more minutes to present you the very first product that we sort of delivered in the urban transport during the first year was the online catalog. The online catalog for us is a way to, as I was saying, get stock of the good practices that we inherited from the previous phase. And it was very important for us to not only assess the relevance and results of these solutions or cases that we call them, these experiences from the field about testing, exploring, or developing innovative technologies or innovative solutions in the field of sustainable mobility. It's not only the results and impact that these cases generated, but also we assess the readiness of their implementers to become givers, to become part of the project of transferring this knowledge. So, and that's the link we do with the mentoring that Eloise will present. But let me show you where our catalog sort of works. Sorry. So basically, and I will post it on the chat, you go to medurbantools.com. Medurbantools.com is a platform of good practices with a lot of knowledge already available. And you can click on the banner of the urban transports on the bottom side of the page, the general page, to access the urban transport section of the MedUrban Tools. Here you get a presentation of our project, and the best practices are distributed in, again, our 6 thematic axes, which are not surprise. You are invited to select the cases category to get to visit the best practices and the solutions that the solutions of our catalog. Taking one example, basically what you find for each of the solution is a summary of the experience, the challenges, and the solutions that were developed in that case. It's, again, you can find it distributed by thematic axis, and you can find other solutions on the bottom of the page that can be of interest. But not only that, we went through interviews with the implementers, and by clicking to the downloadable sheet, you can access a PDF with extra information that provides you a deeper and detailed witness of what the pioneer, what the implementer experienced. So you can go more. It's like if you were talking to the pioneers, so you get to know what were the challenges, what were the corrective actions, very important aspects regarding the costs, the monitoring in place, and then some hints into the positive effects and the stakeholders to be involved. That last aspect is very important. Then there's more information, I mean, links that you can connect to know more. If we go to back to the menu, you can select any of the thematic axes if you want to tailor or target your research. And again, that's the same. You can click to any of them. Here we have the integrated information system in copper, the same structure. You get the labeling, so you get the categories of this solution and a summary. For some of them, it is more developed than for others. This is regarding the information available that we had. But for all of them, you can get this downloadable full sheet, which, as you see, it has a key features, so a highlight box that you get for all of them. And the structure is standard. So that means that it is very easy to find the information that you're looking for. And of course, the next step is to, if you want to know more, then you can, of course, contact the urban transports partners, and we will do our best to connect you with the implementer or the institutions that were involved in that particular solution, and according to their availability, we can help you liaise with them. That's for the Urban Transports online catalog. I'm gonna post the link in the chat if it hasn't been done already, and you can explore it and you can surf the portal yourself, and let us know if you have any issue, any problem with that. I'm now gonna pass the floor to my colleague Eloise Chaumier from Codatu, who will present us the mentoring program.
Good morning, I'm Eloise Chaumier. Laia, can you stop sharing your, okay. So I will present the mentoring program of the Urban Transport Project. Firstly, the methodology. Secondly, the replicators and pioneers selected. and then first outcomes, and finally the next step foreseen. So regarding the methodology, we are implementing this peer learning and mentoring program to disseminate the most replicable tools developed by the urban transport community that Laia has just presented. And how it works. Cities of our community are called the pioneer cities, and they are supporting other territories to develop their own sustainable urban mobility solutions. And these new territories are called the replicating cities. And all this process is facilitated by mentors who are experts in urban mobility. Regarding the activities, there are different type of activities we are implementing during this mentoring process. And for each activities, a checklist of common questions have been defined to support the mentors to standardize their work. And of course, this checklist must be adapted according to the context of the replicator and pioneer. Regarding the activities, we have organized a working meeting with replicator and mentor experts. Then peer-to-peer sessions allow the pioneer to share knowledge with the replicating city. These bilateral meetings aim to better understand the pioneer case, the replicator context, and the potential of adaptation between them. A workshop may be also organized at the replicating cities with local stakeholders, as consultation is, of course, key to tailor the project. And then a study visit to the pioneer city may be organized to better understand the pioneer case by getting to meet the key actors involved to see the results and the impacts. Finally, for each mentoring, an adaptation report will be produced by the mentor, and it aims to summarize the results by providing concrete and tailored advice regarding the replicable aspects of the pioneer solutions, the adaptations needed, and the challenges to be taken into consideration. And this report will also identify funding opportunities to implement the solution. Regarding the selection process, a public call for sustainable urban transport implementing cities was launched last October. And in parallel, we organized 8 thematic webinars to communicate on this call and the catalog of solutions. And finally, a selection committee took place in January. As Laia said, we received 22 applications from Europe and from Southern Mediterranean. And the indicators taken into account for the selections were the existence or not of a SUMP, a former experience of any EU project, and the matching potential with a pioneer, and of course the motivation later. Then the replicators selected have signed a memorandum of understanding, and the pioneers have signed a declaration of interest, and the mentors were selected according to the topics the topic of each mentoring. And each mentoring kick off in last March. Regarding the replicating and pioneer cities selected, 8 mentoring processes are currently ongoing, involving 8 replicating cities, 8 pioneer cities, and are facilitated by 8 mentoring experts. So on the topic of big data and ICT tools, Planifica and the municipality of Castellou are supported by Cooper. Larissa in Greece is supported by Rimini and Misano. On soft mobility, we have 3 mentoring processes. Palini with Treviso, Cyprus Energy Agency and Larnaca with the metropolitan area of Barcelona, and Sfax with Misano. Regarding new planning approaches, the Greater IRBID is supported by the Major Development Agency and the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. And Narni is supported by Treviso and Retimno. Finally, on the thematic of shared mobility, AlgoWatt, representing Genova, is supported by Treviso and Barcelona. So the mentoring program will last until next autumn, but some first outcomes can already be highlighted. Larnaca and the Cyprus energy agencies are supported by the Barcelona metropolitan area to extend the bike lane network. Larnaca is a flat city with good geographic conditions to promote cycling, and is also a tourist destination. And there is a strong commitment to create a continuous bike network. It is validated in their SUMP, and the budget is available to implement. And one of their challenge is the need for coordination between the neighboring municipality. And on this point, the experience of Barcelona is very relevant, since they have developed a metropolitan bike lane network called Bicivia, which implies, of course, a strong coordination with the 36 municipality of the metropolis. So the exchanges between Larnaca and Barcelona were very fruitful. And Larnaca also appreciated Barcelona's idea of promoting the cycle network in a map that looks like a metro network, because this shows that the bike can be a direct and fast mode. Regarding SFAX, supported by Misano Adriatico in Italy, the topic of this mentoring is also on soft mobility, to boost and promote the use of soft mobility in SFAX. SFAX has developed its first SUMP NAMA in 2016. It was the first in Tunisia. And there is a strong commitment to implement the soft mobility action of this SUMP. So the mentoring program is supporting the municipality to set a vision for soft mobility, to identify a pilot axis for pedestrian and cyclists, and to define a monitoring system of soft mobility. They rely on the experience of Misano Adriatico, which has developed its bike lane network with signage, information and monitoring system also. Two peer-to-peer sessions took place, one regarding governance, planning and coordination, and the second one regarding the operational and technical aspects. The exchanges have been also fruitful. And for example, one replicable aspect is greening the area around bike lanes to benefit from their shadow effect. But SFAX underlines the difficulties of water supply and the importance of choosing plantations requiring little watering. So regarding the next steps, as I said, the mentoring process will go until next October with study visits, stakeholders workshops, midterm reports and the adaptation reports. And during the first semester of 2022, the results of the mentoring program will be promoted with the transferring to policy recommendations and webinar with the capacity building community, and the presentation at the Mediterranean Mobility Forum in Athens. Thank you for your attention. I will now give the floor to Christos to present the soft mobility policy brief.
Thank you, Eloise. So let me share my screen after. Okay, thank you, Eloise. Hello everyone. My name is Christos Yolgasis, and I work for the Civitas Network for Cyprus and Greece. In this presentation, we will discuss about the first policy brief of the urban transport community. The theme of the first policy brief is soft mobility. There will also be two more. The second one is expected to be published in autumn, and it will be about mobility in tourist destinations. In this presentation, I will very briefly present the context of the policy brief, the case studies which have been taken into account, and the recommendations produced at EU level, EU and national level, but also at local and regional level. So let's get started with the context. The policy brief relies on four aspects. The first one is the environment, with a special mention to the European Green Deal about the decarbonization of the European Union. The road safety, with a special focus on the new paradigm for safe cities, which has been developed by Polis and Eurocities, and brings together cities with an inspiration to make mobility more safe, also in modes such as walking and cycling. Then there is health, which is, of course, focusing on active mobility, but also the pandemic of COVID-19, which has changed the mobility habits of the people. Then we also focus on infrastructure, giving a special focus on bike paths and lanes, sidewalks and pedestrianized areas, and of course traffic calming measures, the new initiative by the United Nations about a speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour or 20 miles per hour in urban areas is one of the most prominent traffic calming measures. So here we will see about the case studies. Of course, Laia has already presented the catalog. You can find more detailed and rich information about these case studies in the website of MedUrban Tools. The case studies for soft mobility include Barcelona, which has developed the network BCVia, which connects 36 different municipalities in the wider metropolitan area and plans a network of 550 kilometers, of which 44% has already been developed. The key lessons about coming from the case study of Barcelona include the coordination, assessment, and maintenance. Then there is also Misano, which focused on guidance, signage, and monitoring by installing signposts which assist the bike users and the soft mobility users to connect from points among points of interest such as the waterfront, the urban center, schools, etc. I'm sorry for that. Then we also have ZADAR, which focused on the promotion of cycling culture, connection of traffic data and air quality data, and of course the upgrade of an existing smart mobility application which assists users. Then we also had Dures and Igoumenitsa. Dures focused on extending bike paths and integrating the newly constructed ones into the existing network, and Igoumenitsa, which focused on refurbishing a misused bike sharing system. The two lessons coming from these two case studies are the coordination needed in order to make them succeed and the maintenance. So after this brief introduction, we now go on to the policy recommendations at EU and national level. First of all, we suggest regulation and the provision of technical specifications, drawing experience from cars, vehicle standardization and eventual registration should be considered, so that perhaps new already existing concepts such as the obligatory maintenance could be introduced. We also consider important the rights of access to infrastructure, going from mixed cycle lanes to Parking rights. Parking is a very important issue about soft mobility, as the existence of mobility hubs, which allow parking, prevent vandalism and theft, which is an important issue. So how to achieve that? We suggest cooperation with stakeholders and working groups to support research collaboration and review and expand current legislation and rules. We also suggest to coordinate and facilitate the cities to implement soft mobility. We have seen in the cases of Dures and Barcelona that it is very important, and that the implementation of such mobility schemes requires multi-level cooperation, extending from user associations, public authorities, transportation organizing authorities, and others. To achieve that, we suggest to create fora of discussions or to co-create activities and workshops to encourage and establish shared benefits for stakeholders built in agreements, and also to build a knowledge database with toolkits, successful examples, and technical specifications. We also suggest to provide financial support. There's a common misconception that soft mobility is an extremely low-cost solution, and this misconception leads to poor infrastructure and bad design. To achieve that, we suggest to provide financial incentives, not only for studies, which after all are covered to some extent by the sustainable urban mobility plans of the cities, but also for the implementation and the maintenance. We also suggest to earmark mobility-related funding in EU and national funding frameworks to provide direct incentives to users to acquire e-vehicles, for instance, e-bikes or e-scooters, and to give free access and parking to regulated areas. Then we also suggest the training of users, non-users, and personnel. Another common misconception is that soft mobility does not require any skills and expertise, and this leads to inappropriate risky road behavior as well as dangerous infrastructure design. For this reason, we suggest for soft mobility users and for car users to raise awareness and to offer theoretical and practical training starting from an early age. For the staff of the public authorities, we suggest to facilitate internal capacity building through seminars and training programs on soft mobility infrastructure to design them more effectively and monitor the operation also more effectively. These have been the policy recommendations at EU and national level. Now we're moving on to policy recommendations at local and regional level. We suggest that the collaboration among municipalities should be fostered. Of course, this is a task for a higher level, for a national and EU level, but also public, local and regional governments should also opt out for that, given that the network effect is a crucial success factor of any kind of soft mobility scheme. If it's not integrated and if it's not inclusive, and if it's not connected with the neighboring municipalities, there are low possibilities for success. To achieve that, we suggest to establish common working groups and memoranda of understanding among neighboring communities to facilitate exchanges and provide financial incentives, and to ensure the long-term continuity of discussions and not only first-stage approval. Then we suggest bottom-up design so that the user needs will be integrated within the design. If the user needs are integrated, this would not result in inadequate and less attractive network and service supply. To achieve a bottom-up design, we suggest to engage citizens at all stages of projects, and also to ensure better monitoring and collection of data so that the mobility patterns of soft mobility users will be monitored and then integrated in any update planned for the soft mobility design. We also suggest to involve local stakeholders. The involvement involvement of chambers of commerce, professionals, public transport operators, among others, can enhance the design and reduce opposition to new schemes. We have all seen that, for instance, dedicating some traffic lanes to soft mobility quite often brings opposition. To achieve that, and to avoid problems as the one I mentioned, we suggest to invite stakeholders to participate in the design procedure. And of course, when dealing with other upcoming mobility projects and public works, to always take into account the bike lanes. We also suggest to consider the infrastructure quality because high infrastructure quality increases user acceptability, which is a key factor for success. Acceptability by non-users is also essential, as public opposition may raise political issues and even lead to risky driving behaviors. To consider the infrastructure quality, we suggest the overall promotion of the benefits, operations, and usage for the local community. We also suggest customized communication campaigns targeting separately users and all types of non-users to provide maps and to explain the utility and potential of soft mobility to the technical staff of the authorities implementing soft mobility schemes. Also to consider the cost, as it is not a low-cost intervention, to protect pedestrians and other micromobility vehicles, and to consider parking facilities. As I have mentioned before, it is quite important to prevent vandalism and to prevent also theft, and of course to include protection in these parking lots from adverse weather. We also suggest to encourage multimodality, which means to foster soft mobility modes and discourage car use, especially in the city centers, by designing soft mobility hubs, providing interconnections, and creating bike-sharing docks at the outskirts of the city so that multimodality would be facilitated. Then we suggest assessment and measure by developing data. As we have said earlier, Misano has made such a case study. To achieve that, data collection equipment and sensors have to be installed to gather data using ICT technologies and combine them with data from other sources such as travel surveys, and of course to plan regular studies and assessment of the operations. Last but not least, we believe that enforcement and surveillance is quite important in order to protect users and discourage inappropriate driving and riding behaviors. This could be achieved through the police presence, especially on the first days of the operations, and by the installment of speed radars for bikes and cameras for illegal use of bike lanes and unauthorized access to pedestrianized lanes. So this has been a very brief overview of the policy brief. We invite you all to visit our website and read it in order to see the recommendations in more detail, and also to see how the case studies have influenced these recommendations. This has been all from me. Now I pass the floor to colleague Markus Slavic from the Area Science Park, who will speak us about guides for e-mobility and autonomous driving. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christos. Good morning, everybody. I'm going to talk about urban mobility visions. Some colleagues and I recently published 2 technology scenario reports you can find on the Urban Transport website. These reports, focusing on infrastructure planning for electrification and autonomous driving, aim at providing decision makers and municipal officers with a review of new upcoming technologies, which are presented through some fact sheets. You can see here some examples, with a special focus on their impacts on the urban environment and some measures that could be adopted to contrast their potential negative effect. In the speech, I can't present all the technologies due to time restrictions, but I would like to provide some insight on the main technology trends of the future urban mobility, pointing out its impacts on the urban environment and making some suggestions on management measures in order to tackle them in advance. There are two major ongoing trends in mobility, which are electrification and digitalization. Vehicles are evolving according to these trends. From traditional vehicles with internal combustion engines, we are gradually moving towards electric vehicles. But at the same time, vehicles become smarter thanks to advanced driver assistance systems. As the level of automation grows, full autonomous driving comes closer. Today, we have reached level 3 in automation, level 4 only some pilots. And level 3 is also called eyes off, and it means that the vehicles is already able to monitor the surrounding environment autonomously, but the drivers are still required and could be asked to take control at any time if needed. So we can say that we are evolving incrementally from vehicles to electric vehicles till the connected autonomous electric vehicles. Anyway, connected autonomous electric vehicles raise some questions. What will the impacts on city and the built environment be? There will be an increase of traffic and congestion. Of course there will, but only if we keep on with the current mobility model based on vehicle ownership. In this case, empty vehicles traveling to go to pick up their owners will add to the already existing traffic of vehicles transporting passengers. Anyway, despite connected autonomous electric vehicles are able to communicate both with the other vehicles and road infrastructures and adapting speed or finding alternative routes to avoid road congestion, a new mobility model is needed because the present one is not sustainable anymore. A mobility as a service approach based on route aggregation and optimization is much more efficient and can reduce the number of vehicles and traffic congestion in city centers during peak hours as a consequence. A mass system positively affects parking space needs too, because less vehicles and shorter idle periods mean more space for people and other more valuable activities from a social and economic point of view. Connected autonomous electric vehicles then should not be privately owned, but they should be integrated in a broader intelligent transport system within a mobility as a systems, as a service scheme. If we shift away from vehicle ownership and the focus will be on moving people from an origin to their desired destination, new connected autonomous electric vehicles should be as flexible as possible in order to match the mobility demand in the most adaptive way. New types of vehicles which blur the boundaries between existing vehicles categories will be designed. What is it? Is it a shared taxi, a pod, a bus, or a trackless tram? It doesn't matter because it can be all of them if needed, following passengers' mobility demand. There could be small pods, like in this case, that exploit swarm intelligence to move a single vehicle or in a row like a trackless train. However, it's not possible to think that this change will be immediate. It will take time to substitute the current mobility model with a new one. So it will not be possible to avoid a transition phase, which will be more complicated because of the coexistence of two or maybe even more different systems, which could be not coordinated and maybe unable to communicate with each other as well. This change in the mobility fields occurs together with other societal changes in the way we work, we study, we buy goods, and the way and the changes in the way we move is often the consequence of the other changes. Today, we have the chance to reduce our daily trips thanks to smart or remote working, or thanks to e-commerce and home delivery. The way cities are designed largely impacts on urban mobility too. Urban planning could have a positive or negative effect on urban mobility. If a zoning approach is adopted, um, which divides the city into strictly monofunctional zones like the residential area, the business district, the education district, the shopping area, and so on, which are all distant from each other, daily traveled miles increase, encouraging people to use private motorized modes. On the contrary, following the 15-minute city design approach, which promotes the development of a city through small districts with a high mix of functions at a distance which is possible to reach on foot or by bike in a short time, active mobility becomes the best and most convenient mode, resulting in a safer, healthier, and more vibrant urban environment. So a good mobility management always starts from a good urban planning. The introduction of electric mobility requires specific infrastructures that have an impact on the urban environment and need planning. The immobility stays, as you can see here in the slide, stays in between the mobility ecosystem and the energy ecosystem, putting together many stakeholders and many issues that must be all taken into account and involved in the planning process. And if we add an additional field, which is connectivity, new possibilities open up. Efficiency increases, but complexity increases as well. More stakeholders are involved and more expertise are required. New infrastructures that are able to provide multiple different services like parking or depots, which are energy storages as well, can be creating, saving valuable urban space. The intelligent transport system with connected autonomous electric vehicles stays in between users and a centralized city-level management, which is essential. Users express the demand and generate mobility data. The ICT platform gathers mobility data, analyzes and uses them for simulation, prediction, and connected autonomous electric vehicle traffic management. This centralized management is essential for a good intelligent transport system functioning. Municipality officers could have the power to control mobility as a whole, defining the rules and coordinating even different mobility service providers in a single system, offering a smooth and seamless user experience. The platform could also schedule the charging operation of the fleet, avoiding power demand peak periods or exploiting renewable energy oversupply. Integrating the management of mobility and other urban issues like urban planning, building energy and other utilities management, the platform could become a digital twin and transforming the city into a smart city. To conclude, here there is a summary of some of the main impacts and changes needed due to the future introduction of connected autonomous electric vehicles. There is no need to wait the diffusion of the autonomous driving to introduce some changes. For example, giving priority to pedestrians and cyclists and at the same time reducing driving speed in urban centers contributes to road safety and livability. In addition, the creation of energy storages in the urban environment could boost the distributed generation of renewable energy, the transformation of building into smart buildings, and the creation of smart grids which will support the spread of connected autonomous electric vehicles in the next future. This change in mobility with the introduction of new vehicles, the need of new management models, more power and space requirements has a great impact on urban areas and city centers, especially on the historic ones. Municipalities so must be ready to this revolution and contrast potential negative effects by guiding this transition rather than undergo. They should react through knowledge of new technologies and potential new future problems, and developing a long-term vision and a strategy to guide decision-making, and adopting actions and new adequate management measures. I hope you found this presentation of the bigger picture useful to be more aware of what the ongoing mobility revolution implies and to be ready to manage it. If you want to go deeper in technology, I want to remind that you can refer to our True Technologies and our reports as a guidance or a handbook. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Marco. We have shared the links of the thematic guides in the chat for everybody to check them. The idea here was to give you a hint on some very different products that we have been working on, and all of them are you can find them in the project website, or the links that have been shared during the presentations. I don't see any I mean, there was a comment that has been already answered by my colleagues about the catalog. I don't know if there is any other question, reaction at this stage about what we have presented before we go into the next month's planning. Giuseppe, do you want to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
please.
yeah. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for the information. We, as you know, we as community of sustainable tourism, we share some partners with you. With Unimed is also a partner of our community, so we are informed about what you are doing. But now today you explain some more details that are very interesting for us. Just one comment and one question. And the question is, it is very interesting, this mentoring process. I think this is very similar what we now you are promoting also as Med Cities in the project in Circle in our community. So I would like to know what have been the difficulties in this mentoring process. So what assessment have you done concerning this first month of the process, and well, how is it working? And concerning the comment, I have seen in the presentations you have made today that there are many examples, many destinations, many territories interested in the cycling and in cycling tourism. As you know, there is a project in our community, MedCycle Tour, that finished some months ago, but now they are planning what they call a long-term management agreement in order to give continuity to the actions and in the promotion of the Eurovelo #8 route in the Mediterranean. So we are supporting them in trying also to find new regions, new territories that wants to be engaged in the promotion and maintenance of this Eurovelo 8 route. So maybe in the future we will contact you also in order to find some synergies with this soft mobility project. Thank you.
Thank you, Giuseppe. Maybe my colleagues, Christos or Eloise, want to answer about the mentoring difficulties?
About the mentoring, it has been a very interesting, of course, process. For sure, there are problems such as the engagement of the pioneer cities, in essence that some of their projects might have ended, and it's not always easy to have them involved. It is also important to clarify to the replicator cities the scope of the project so that they would not have, oversized perhaps ambitions. It is also important to find good mentoring experts who would scale the solution into who would adapt the solution so that it would fit the scale of the replicator city to see what could be replicated both technically, administratively, and in terms of legislation. And if I may say, we have the pleasure to have with us Mrs. Marina Kyriakou, who is representing the replicator city of Larnaca. If she wants to share with us a thought, that would be interesting, I guess. If not, it's fine. Now, about your comment, yes, it is quite important. Perhaps we could examine if there are synergies among the cities who are in the mentoring process about soft mobility and bike lanes and the projects which you mentioned.
Yeah, thanks. Is there any other reaction at this stage? Marina Kyriakou apologized because she has the best environment at the moment to speak, Christos.
Okay, thank you, Marina.
So yes, there's a comment regarding the presentation about the mentoring. We must apologize because there was a mistake when we talked about the pioneer city of Genova being Treviso. Is not Treviso, is the city of Split. And Mrs. Radoika Tomasevich pointed out this point, and it's important we provide the right information. Let me, if there's no further comments at this stage, maybe we can go to the next point. We wanted to share with you a bit of an overview of the next steps of the project. And this is going to be important if we want to identify, as Giuseppe was already signaling, some synergic and collaboration opportunities. I'm not going to go into much detail, but we will for sure share the slides. Here you can see a bit of, in light colors, what is ahead of us. We basically, and again, this is our 3 levels, and that's how we structure the project. The mentorings will go up until O2. Then we will focus on mostly the knowledge exchange and the policy leverage levels, with a lot of events and activities that now Christos will present in detail. And as you can see, all the activities come are linked and come and are built by each other. So on the basis, for instance, of the mentoring results, we will be able to present these results to the regional workshops in the middle of the slide. We will be able to present as well, or we will be able to transfer them into the policy briefs. And I'm just mentioning some, and you can see on the right bottom side of your slide, still scheduled for June, although this might change, is our final event, our Mediterranean Mobility Forum, where we aim at presenting the results of the 3 levels of intervention, from the territorial tailored level to the policy and advocacy level. Christos, I give you the floor to present a bit more in detail the calendar we have ahead of us.
Thank you, Laia. So, as Laia said, ahead of us there's a calendar full with events. In October, we will participate at the European Week of Regions, and we will present our policy recommendations for soft mobility. And then there is also the Ciclo Barcelona event, also in October. which will focus on soft mobility as well. In December, we will attend the Polish Annual Conference and the Civitas Network for Greece and Cyprus Conference, where we will also discuss the outcomes of the mentoring and the policy briefs. In the end, there is a Mediterranean Mobility Forum, which, as Laia said, is at the moment scheduled for June, but perhaps might be postponed if the project gets extended. Then we will also gather Mediterranean voices to influence EU policy making. At the moment, the new EU urban mobility framework is being developed and is expected to be published soon. And we would like to collaborate with cities and public authorities in the Mediterranean so that we can promote our shared goals and objectives.
If I may, there will be a public consultation. There will be many public consultations, but we may want to target some of them, like this one, Urban Mobility Framework. And we would be very glad to go out and ask for your feedback, for your inputs to build a positioning as the urban transport community and the stakeholders that deal with mobility in the Mediterranean. That's our ambition, and that the role that we would like to play.
And then there are also some other activities. First of all, there is a Med Academy, which is a sort of a school co-organized by the urban transport community along with other med communities, which attempts to have young policy makers in the Med region involved and get knowledge from it. Soon there will be a public announcement about the Med Academy, and we will invite the people who would like to attend it and of course get a certificate of attendance. In late 2021, early 2022, there will be 3 regional and local workshops, one in Greece, one in Italy, and one in Spain. The target group of these workshops will be sub-regional and local decision makers and stakeholders. In these events, as Laia said, we will present the outcomes of the mentoring, and we will try to build the knowledge community. But we are not only focused on the European part of the Mediterranean, but also in the southern part of the Mediterranean. MedCities and UNIMED will organize the Southern Mobility Dialogues late in 2021 with as side events of their general assemblies, and their objective is to attract Southern Med cities and stakeholders. Then there will be next community meetings and joint initiatives with other INTERREG Med communities. A few days ago, the project represented by Laia participated at the workshop organized by the INTERREG Buildings community. And it is an idea, and the idea behind it is to collaborate and establish synergies with other stakeholders in the Med regions and other communities.
Thank you very much, Christos. We still have 10 minutes before we give the floor to Mrs. Richard, and I wonder if there's any question, any reaction. We prepare some, overall questions. Maybe Christos, you want to share a bit about the campaign, the 30 Cities campaign, before we give the floor?
Yes, thank you, Laia. In the last year of the project, we will launch a city campaign aiming to reach at least 30 signatories to mobilize local authorities to show their commitment for sustainable mobility. We would like to hear from you whether this would interest you and whether you would be interested in getting involved. Moreover, we would like to invite you to follow us at our social media, for instance, Twitter at MedComTrans, to learn more about our events and activities. And right now, we would like to ask you to discuss with us if by submitting your comments at chat or by taking or by speaking, what you would think. I see that Marina Kyriakou from the Cyprus Energy Agency shared with us her experience at the chat about the mentoring. She says that it is an interesting way to learn from peers and interesting context to share when reaching out to local stakeholders. Larnaca is collaborating with Barcelona, and this has raised the interest of the stakeholders. So that is good in order to get local stakeholders involved when there is a good practice that gets transferred.
Yeah, thank you, Marina, for sharing your experience. Is there any reaction project you want to share with us that could be of interest for the people in the room, for exploring synergies with us that you want to share? We have now some time to do so. Let's see if there's any volunteer. No. Okay, let me remind you, and maybe I can ask my colleague Hermete to post it on the chat, the link to subscribe to the newsletter as well for the ones who are not yet subscribed to our newsletter. There we regularly publish our news, upcoming events, or reports of past events. We are, by the way, preparing a mid-term series of articles about the mentoring experiences that will soon be published. Okay, if there's no more to be shared at this stage, maybe what we can do is to save a bit more time for the discussion at the end, and to give the floor to our guest speaker today that we are very glad to have, Mrs. Richard, who is the INTERREG Med Program Managing Authority Director, Mrs. Tarja Richards. Thank you for being there. We are very happy, and Mrs. Richards will share with us some hints into how the new INTERREG Euromed, we call it now, future INTERREG project will look like. And we will have some time at the end to share your doubts, your questions about her presentation. I hope you can see your slides.
At least I can see. Thank you, Laia, and thanks for inviting me. Happy to be here with you, and it was very interesting for me as well to hear about your work concretely. I don't have any more so opportunities to be connected directly in project life, and you're the best proof that the 14-20 period is still very much ongoing, and we have a lot of work to do. It has not ended, it's only ending in the end of 2023. But nevertheless, we are preparing the new program period, which already theoretically should have started this year. But we are not taking responsibility of the delays because it's very much linked to the Commission. The new regulations even haven't been formally validated yet. So there have been piling up of delays, which explains that we are still in the preparation phase. But nevertheless, we have advanced very much. We have consolidated the new program draft, And very recently, our task force, the program states, validated this consolidated draft. So we are preparing really seriously to start as soon as possible the new programming as well. So this will be a little overview on the new program, about its structure, about its key missions and the typology of projects. And obviously, if you have questions, feel free to post them in the chat, and either me or my colleague Roberta, who is with you as well from the Secretariat, will answer to your questions. So first of all, to say that we are not in the context of revolution this time, we are in the context of evolution for the program. So it's about building up on what we have already done in the current period. First of all, you see the map here, and those who know the existing current program know that there is an enlargement in this map. So we have 2 new countries joining the new program: Bulgaria, the whole country, and the Republic of North Macedonia. Obviously, Bulgaria being an EU country and North Macedonia operating on the IPA budget as a candidate or potential candidate to the European Union. And from apart from that, we also have 3 Spanish regions more. So you can see that there is also an enlargement on the western side of the programming area. We now have also Madrid, Castilla-La Mancha, and Extremadura, which will be joining the new programming. And you will not see a budget in this presentation because we don't have the definitive budget for the program yet. The Commission has not consolidated the definitive budgets for the cooperation programs yet. But we very recently had consolidation from the contributions that each program state is going to make to the program. So I can tell you that we will have very much the same level of budget as we had in the 14-20 period. In this period, it was 274 million, IPA budget included, and there will be a certain increase for the IPA budget, but there is a decrease in the allocation of the budgets for the cooperation programs, unfortunately, for the next period. So we will end up with more or less the same budget as we had in this period for this slightly enlarged space. And the new thing also for the budget is that we will make a fusion between the IPA fund and the EIDF fund. So this will be managed as a joint INTERREG fund, and so the rules will be exactly the same for both. And this will be a simplification. So also I need to mention that we used to have UK in the program in the form of Gibraltar, but this is no more the case after the Brexit, so they have gone out of the program. Now we can go to the slide 3, which is about the missions. You will not see anything specifically in this slide. I know it's very charged and it's very small, but we will go into specifications in this presentation. So let me just remind the 3 missions. We have built the program in a goal-oriented way, which is presented by these 3 main missions. And then there is a declination to priorities and specific objectives. Globally speaking, there is a governance priority. There is an INTERREG-specific priority, which is about better cooperation governance. This is a horizontal overarching priority for the program. And then we have 2 thematic priorities, which are implementing the projects and implementing the missions, and the overall missions being innovative sustainable economy, protecting and restoring the natural environment and heritage, and promoting green living areas. This is a very much, let's say, systemic environmental approach in the new program. So we have 2 thematic priorities. These are concerned by the cooperation projects, which we have called modular in this period. So we have Smarter Med and Greener Med. And Smarter Med has the first policy objective only has 1 specific objective, which is about research and innovation capacities. whereas GreenerMed, the policy objective 2, has 3 specific objectives declining the priority, which are circular and resource efficient economy, then nature protection, biodiversity, green infrastructures, and finally climate change adaptation, risk prevention, and resilience of systems. So this is globally what composes the program and declines in an operational stage its key missions. So the following slides will be a little bit, let's say, precise in the situation. These are the key missions in a more visible format for you. So we wish to contribute with the program financing to the transition towards a climate neutral society and to fight against the climate change impact. And of course, we are concerned about the sustainability of growth and development. Unfortunately, at this stage is no more, let's say, fight against the climate change in order to mitigate, but to rather to adapt. So we are at this stage. So the following slide gives in a more visible form the policy objectives that I mentioned and the specific objectives as well. So we have these 3, the environmental, the GreenerMed policy objective taking, let's say, the most place in the program context. So we can go to the project types. As I said, this is not revolution, but evolution. So those who are familiar with MED projects in this current period know already that we have what we have called modular or model projects, which are the, let's say, the traditional cooperation projects, thematic projects, but they have been representing either a combination or one of the type of activities that we finance. So studying projects, testing pilot projects, and transferring of knowledge and results of projects. Now we will be mostly concerned by single model projects. So the partnerships would be invited to choose which is their main focus of action. But then there will be what we call at this stage a fast lane action, which means that in the programming cycle, the projects who have, for instance, presented a study project will be able, with a facilitated candidacy, to go into another type of function, into another type of model, for instance, pilot testing. And apart from this, we will have strategic territorial projects. This is a new, let's say, definition of a combination of things that we already have in the current program in a certain way. These are projects that have a specific territorial focus, which are built up to respond a specific need for a strategic theme for a specific territory, for instance, islands. And they need a multi-actors approach, and they address public policies. There is a specific focus for these projects in island, ports, and rural and mountainous territories, but this is not exclusive. And then we have the governance priority, the INTERREG specific objective, which declines in 2 types of projects, thematic community projects, which are very much similar as what you know about today and you practice as horizontal project. So these will be the projects to enhance and to valorize the results of thematic projects in the thematic community sense, as you already know about. And then we will have institutional projects that the model is inspired from the current Panoramed governance project, but in a simplified form. These will be networking, institutional coordination, inter-institutional dialogue platforms, but hopefully simpler than the actual, let's say, prototype experience of Panoramed project. So that was the new program in a nutshell. So please, if you have any questions, just come forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarja. Thank you very much for that overview. I will now open the floor for the audience to raise their hand. I think we have one hand raised from the previous point, but maybe we can take more than one now. Okay, Radoika has one question. So let's take a question from Radoika and one question from Alexia. Please, you can take the floor.
Hi, yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation for Ms. Richards. I was just noting, because we are very much interested in the preservation of cultural heritage. When now in your presentation, you could, I believe it's like a PO2. You have mentioned in the mission, you have mentioned heritage, but when you see later on the, sorry, I didn't get the name, let's say activities, there's no mentioning of heritage at all. So why is that? Could you put back maybe the presentation and you will see what I'm talking about?
So you are wondering about cultural heritage, right?
Cultural heritage, which was mentioned, you go back, okay?
Here.
So, yeah, so you have protecting and restoring natural environment and heritage. And later on, if you see in PO2, later on, even on the next slide, there's no heritage mentioned at all.
Okay. So how the question
what happened to the heritage?
What's the role or what?
Yeah.
What
would be the role? Is the heritage going to be kind of tackled at all? Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks for your question.
Okay. Thank you, Radoika. Yes, heritage is not mentioned in the missions, but it is mentioned in the priorities and specific objectives. Although we have a strong environmental focus and we are very much concerned about natural heritage, cultural heritage is mentioned in the new programming document which we are drafting, and it is possible also to implement projects interested in cultural heritage. Although this is not a specific objective or a specific focus for cultural heritage, it's embedded in the protection of heritage, globally speaking. But it gives room as well for projects interested in cultural heritage. Some of our program countries being very interested also in this theme. I have to mention that we don't have specific mention for themes that still remain important for the new program. For instance, tourism. Tourism is a kind of a let's say, horizontal aspect, sustainable tourism, obviously, but it doesn't have a specific objective per se. I don't know if Roberta wants to complete.
Yes, maybe just to mention that the specific objectives, the titles are taken from the regulation. So we cannot add, for example, heritage in the specific objectives, but we have, let's say, in the type of actions, in the description of the objectives and the type of activities, we take into account many topics that are not explicit in the title. And yes, as Tarja said, cultural heritage and tourism are tackled as horizontal topics.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So there is a question on the chat regarding the timeline.
Yes.
Of course, I mean, they are asking, when do you think the terms of reference of, and here we should differentiate, right? The thematic type of modular projects call and the governance axis call.
Yes.
Can you tell us something about this?
Yes, the first call should be targeted to the horizontal, the actual horizontal, the community projects, and then the modular projects would open. So definitely seeing the delays that the Commission is putting on the table, this will not be possible before 2022. we have been proposing to our program states that eventually we would open the first call, which would be for the community projects, even before the Commission gives the final validation of the program. But this is not seemingly favorably received by everybody, so I don't think it will be possible to do it. Nevertheless, we will start preparing with the project operators and the interested actors, even when waiting for the formal opening. So the provision now is that we will organize a kickoff event, hopefully as physical as possible, but it will be a hybrid event to be followed also by live streaming, obviously, and it will take place in Portugal, in Lisbon, because we have a Portuguese presidency for the program this year. And this will be taking place in December. And it will be more or less corresponding the moment when at least the program has been sent officially and formally to the Commission. The conditions are there to send it. And then the Commission takes some months to validate the program, which means that the earliest moment when we can release the terms of reference of the first call would be, let's say, in the first months of 2022. But even if we cannot, or we are not formally, let's say, authorized by our program states, our committee to release the terms of reference, we will be giving information to the actors, making it possible to start working on the project proposals. So let's say in the first half of 2022, hopefully also the terms of references for modular projects will come out.
Thank you. There's a question by Alexia about the testing projects. Alexia, if you want to take the floor.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for the interesting presentations. One question for Mrs. Richards. Before you said that we are going to focus on evolution, I was wondering if this brings any change to the testing projects that, in comparison to the previous programming period, in the sense that if they are expected to have, let's say, a strong proof of concept, like monitoring specific indicators in the framework of the project, proving that the effectiveness of the tested solutions, is it going to change in comparison to the previous programming period? Is it going to become more, I don't know, will we have to prove more things and monitor more things in the framework of the projects? Thank you.
I wouldn't say more things, but indicators we will still have, yes. Maybe Roberta, you would feel more legitimate to answer to this question.
Yes. Let's say that there is one major change in the structure of the project, and also how the proposal will look like. We won't have anymore the type of work packages, management, communication, testing, etc. But actually the proposal will be structured based on the objectives of the project. So one work package will correspond to one project objective. So this is quite a big change in the way we think about projects. And then also regarding monitoring, it will be quite similar, but yes, we, in terms of expected outputs and results, we are trying to define very clearly what is expected, and also the rules on, let's say, how to validate, as you mentioned, the tested solutions. And also the aim for testing, but for all type of projects, is not only to develop a solution, but also to have these solutions then adopted by organizations. So this will be kind of the main objective of the projects, to develop something that is then really adopted and used by organizations at territorial level. It will be a bit different from this programming period.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I had one question regarding somehow the governance axis, or the modulars as well as an horizontal project today. And you have seen, and as Tarja highlighted, we are ongoing and very active. I was wondering how the program foresees the bridging phase between us and the new projects, both horizontals and modulars, so that we take the advantage of taking all the knowledge and expertise and solutions that have already been tested, so that we don't start from zero again. So how do you see this bridging phase, and how could we help as we are implementing, so that we have the opportunity to prepare this bridging phase very well together? How could we help you, and how is your vision? What is your vision for that?
Well, that's also I think more a question to Roberta, who can explain it more concretely than me. But the first basis is that you are still existing when we start, hopefully, the new community projects, and there will be an overlapping on time, a slight overlapping at least, and there will be let's say connection practices. But Roberta, maybe you can say something more about that.
Yes, it's this bridging phase. It's kind of a work in progress still. So we have been discussing with all the horizontal projects how we should work together for, let's say, make the transition to the new programming period. One of the steps will be indeed to analyze the results of modular projects that has been already done by the horizontal projects, but in view of the new missions and specific objectives, and also let's say reflect the results that were produced in 1420 in the expected outputs and results for 21-27, for example. Can we consider this project result that as a solution that can be transferred in the transferring projects of 21-27? Can this let's say result be considered a strategy, or let's say a methodology for developing a strategy that we can use for both testing and transferring projects? So we have now this idea a bit to already classify the type of results, and also to see in which specific objective and which mission they will fit. Of course, we want to kind of continue the transferring of the good results, good outputs. So like we did now at the end of the period, launching these transferring calls, we want to continue let's say giving value to what has been done in 1420 and transfer it further.
Thank you. On our side, our willingness to maybe present at the end of the project some of the how we see the most transferable or the easiest to be transferred and to be explained. So the tools that we have generated, for instance, the mentoring methodology, we think has a lot of potential, or the catalog as it is now, and it's has been online already. So I mean, there's some aspects of the project that can be easily taken over and even built over, that we would very happily be able to share more about them.
Yes, and of course, I mean your experience in the for the last 5 years, let's say, and also your experience in how to engage the new territories, new organizations to apply let's say the result. It's everything is very valuable for the next programming period.
Mm.
Yes, I agree, and definitely we are not. We are very interested in capitalizing experience, as you have fully understood, and we are not willing to let this kind of concrete and good methods to be lost. So obviously my colleagues are working on this together with the horizontal project, so that we have the best possible method of connecting and transfer.
Mm-hmm. There's another question on the chat regarding the timeline,
yes,
which we already sort of answered.
Yeah, well, maybe let's say I said that the terms of reference will be coming out, let's say, hopefully the first half of 2022. I cannot be very specific when we would program, when we would select, but because it depends on many factors yet today. But definitely our objective is that the project would be able to start to be programmed before the end of 2022. Definitely, because then if not, we will also be concerned about obviously the decommitment rule. So we need to advance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I had one question more regarding on the topics of the new program and the fact that we find the axis of greener living areas as encompassing different thematic communities that exist today as separated thematic communities like ours. So mobility would be encompassed by this axis of greener living areas together with green growth, I think, efficient building. So there's renewable energy. So I was wondering, should we be concerned that mobility is fusionated and we'll lose this sort of specificity, or are we safe that mobility is in fact taken as a more transversal and a topic that needs to be interlinked with the others? How should we receive this?
Go on.
No, let's say that the idea, in fact, was to have a more comprehensive topic that is really focused on, let's say, urban areas, but also very, let's say, big and small. And we think that mobility is still a very important topic, especially when we talk, because we have some aspects of reducing pollution in urban areas. We have also in the climate change adaptation change of let's say habits for citizens. We have participatory process. We have all the planning. The planning phases that we aim to continue working on, such as sustainable urban mobility plans, also the urban agenda. I mean, there are many topics that are where mobility is important, and also we have a strong link of mobility with sustainable tourism. It's let's say we didn't take the single topic, because also, and we didn't also for energy, for example, but because we wanted to have a more let's say simplified approach and not having all split. And also, let's say the idea is that this integrated approach is also reflected then in the impact at the territorial level. So we don't want to particularly focus maybe on, let's say, electrical bikes or electrical vehicles. We really want that the implementation of this type of mobility has an impact in the living quality of the urban area or the small town, let's say. So this was a bit the idea, and of course that the same project can both work on actions on mobility, for example, and tourism, or mobility and renewable energy. So it's a more also more open for the projects.
Thank you. We are in fact collaborating with these other thematic communities, so it makes sense I mean, it makes sense, the coherence of topics. We have a, do we have a question from Radoika again? Or you were approving?
Yes,
no.
Yes,
Okay.
thank you for the time you're giving me. It's just because we are following now the programming from ESI funds, then we are following programming of other programs. The problem I see in all this is that basically topics are everywhere the same. So I'm interested to hear, do you really coordinate, do you integrate all these projects and programs? Let's say, do you coordinate with other DGs, with other parts of European Commission? Because everywhere we hear exactly the same words. So now if we have like urban mobility, it's bikes, it's impact on the urban population, it's basically always the same. So now there is nothing from my point of view, and don't get me wrong, because I'm covering lots of topics that programming of the new period from different sources. For me, it's basically a bit, you know, how to be innovative if you have topics everywhere the same. So even if I, let's say, if I have a pilot program here, then I could secure funding maybe from other sources, but it's coming everything in parallel at the same time. So there's no like a way how to develop it further. The other issue I just wanted to ask you, basically are talking about the transferring your experience. Okay, we have a mobility experience. I'm simplifying this. Mobility experience, but we also have funding from very interesting projects that came from ESF funds. So does it mean that we can transfer, or maybe we can be a partner, or we can be even a lead partner to somebody within INTERREG Med, because we have a very successful project that was funded from other sources. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like here you always have a continuation of something similar within the same topic, within the same program. I think that this, how do you call it in English, cross-fertility would help. So I just wanted to hear your opinion on this.
Interesting point, across programs.
Yes, obviously we are interested in that. If I come first to the last point of the question, we are interested in this cross-fertilization. We have never been close to this this notion, and wherever the good examples are coming from, or experiences, or experience potentially, let's say, facilitating being a lead partner, because coming with a certain experience, if it's coming from another program, it's as valuable for us as if it's coming from the MED program directly. So this is absolutely something that we like to value and keep open, let's say, taking in different experiences that help to build up a more concrete and more result-oriented projects. Yes, all the programs have same topics. Why do they have? Because the Commission gives us these topics. So there is not limitless choice of what we can finance and which themes we need to choose for the new programs. And I would say that personally and within the staff of, let's say, the 2 consecutive MED programs that I have been assisting, we have always tried to cooperate and coordinate as much as possible with everybody. So it's a value for the program to try to coordinate and cooperate with everybody. The problem, the practical problem, is that we are given these same themes by the Commission, and the way the Commission itself is operating is not horizontal, it's not transversal. So the DJs inside of the Commission are not working together systematically or extensively, or it's more based on ad hoc contacts. So this is not facilitating the coordination when we decline to the operational level, to the implementing of the programs. We do what we can on this issue, and then maybe I'm also in charge of regional programs in my region, EIDF and Social Fund, and even the Rural Development Fund. So it's not obvious, even on this level, when we are managing authority of all these programs, to really coordinate, because everybody is implementing Of course, we know that the themes are the same, but we try to build in the program a specific approach, specific typology of action, types of projects, and of course, the demand of specific type of partners. And this is how somehow, let's say that the theme is the same, but the action is not the same. And we hope for complementarity and porosity between what's happening in cooperation programs like MED and regional and other programs financed by the European Union or other sources. So this is all I can say. It's not perfect, but let's say the structuration itself is already something that is difficult to cope with. So it's something given for us.
Thank you. Is there any other question, reaction at this stage before we do the closing point? I don't want to leave anybody with a word or an idea in their mind.
I think there is yet another demand for more details about new application forms. So I don't know if we can go until this stage, but Roberta, if you want to try.
Yes, actually, as I said before, there won't be the same type of work packages like project management, project communication, but let's say each project will be free to have some, let's say there will be a maximum of work packages, but the work packages are in fact led by the objective of the project. And so let's say the objective of the project is that 3 municipalities adopt the sustainable urban mobility plans. And then you can, let's say this is the overall objective, then you can decline in some more specific objectives, like developing the SAUMPs for the municipalities. And then so each work package will have its objective and the activities that will contribute to this objective. And both the activities of management and communication are embedded in these work packages. It's something that you will see in, let's say, most of the other INTERREG programs, because it's something that we have harmonized with all of them. So it's something new that you will find in many other programs.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we will close it here. We are on time. I wanted to thank everybody for staying and for being with us. We hope this has been interesting for you. We hope some of the materials we have shared can be of relevance. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us. My colleagues from UNIMED are sharing the link to the newsletter to follow us. And we will be communicating in the coming months as well with a bit more in detail about any of the opportunities we have shared today. I am going to just thank you very much once more and ask, before leaving, ask my dear colleagues and Mrs. Richard and Mrs. Lixia to stay with us in the Zoom room so that we take a picture. For the rest, thank you very much, and we keep in touch. Have a nice day.
Thank you for everything. Bye.
Thank you, Rebecca. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Yes, Hermete, please stay. Okay. And if Eloise can put on the camera, great, thank you. And Fabiola, please.
Yes, we're here.
Thank you. Okay, I think that's us. Okay, let's just take a screenshot. Yeah, thanks again for your time, for being with us. Thank you, Ms. Richard. I think it was very interesting, and that it captured the attention of our community. And let's hope it is not the only occasion we come to discuss with you.
Hope so. Thank you. Thanks for your work, and thank you for having me. It was interesting.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Laia. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day.
Thank you very
much.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.